There are so many multiplication signs.
17 what?
Like without a sign, like constant times variable would be just without anything.
Yeah, I see. I wish it would have like vectors or something so that you can like operate more easily. But
yeah,
I discovered something on the TIC80 which makes the gyroid fluent in high res because it's like 2x2 pixels now. But it's like playback. It's a leak because so you can have I think it theoretically infinite amount of memory on the TIC80. Just you can just precalc everything in an array and then play it back. But I guess in a competition, I think it would be cheating, right? I mean, doing a lot of precalcs and then filling like 20 megabytes of memory and playing back a movie, but it works.
But on competition, there was the time limit as well of 1 minute of altogether, I think. So.
Yeah.
I think the 1 minute was like a soft 1 minute. You're supposed to try to keep it within 1 minute, but if you wanted to play longer, you could have played longer. So it wasn't, but it would be a bit bad for competition if you would do like 5 minutes and everyone else would be doing 1 minute. So I think people respected it overall. A few people were harmed by that, but can't please everyone. Anyways, we're definitely streaming now. Not sure if you have any people chatting already. I'm doing the spamming rounds.
Spamming round.
Yeah. I have to go to every social network and say, we're starting! Everybody come now!
Yes, F. Freddy and Sir Garbage Truck were already online and they are gone by now, which is a shame.
They're gone?
So we should announce them to come back. Oh wait, there they are.
Back once again with control of the base. It's F. Ready and Truck and DDB and Evil. Hello everyone, welcome to the stream. Sorry for a late start. This was a bit of a hectic day.
Hello.
First we had Genio dropping by to pick up his revision beer boxes because this is the last day that we can leave between councils, between districts. We're going back to lockdown because of Easter holidays, so it had to be today. And dinner went long, and then kid doing a poo-poo, and of course internet doesn't always work. You have to switch to 4G, which is really starting to annoy the hell out of me. But we're here. We're live, 8:30, so we're not that late. Just need to spam a few things. I guess we can start announcing stuff already. So welcome everybody to Mr. Demoscene Theater 9000. I have with me 3 awesome guests. They are very skilled in the art of tiny size coding. Hellmood of Desire, Rrrola. I don't know what group you're on, Rrrola.
I don't have a group. I'm just by myself.
Okay, you're a lone wolf. And Ilmenit of Agenda. So thank you all 3 of them for joining me today. All 3 of you got placed very well at Lovebyte a couple weeks ago, and this is pretty much what we're going to cover on this episode. We're going to go a bit over the highlights of Lovebyte and talk about tiny size coding overall. I guess while I'm still spamming, you guys can talk about how Lovebyte was for you. Ilmenit, you want to give it a go? How did it feel? Was it a good weekend? Did you have fun?
Yeah, I had a lot of fun. Unfortunately, I had usually time only during late evening to watch it, but highlights were there, so it was great. But afterwards, I watched a lot of stuff from Lovebyte, and it was great fun. One of my favorite events recently.
Yeah, they managed to upload a lot of, or re-upload a lot of stuff to the YouTube channel, like re-prepared compos and everything, which was live streamed. There were some issues with some stuff, which always happens at the demo party, and they managed to put everything back up on YouTube, so that was really cool to see. Rrrola, how was your party experience? Do you enjoy Lovebyte?
It was pretty awesome. I had a lot of fun, even the weeks before that when I was contacted by the organizers to prepare something. I don't remember any party that had so many categories at once, and it was a nice way to get back into size coding after a break.
How
So I
long?
enjoyed the whole event a lot.
How long were you inactive before then? I remember meeting you at DemoBit. Have you been going to DemoBit regularly since then?
The Demobit isn't organized anymore.
Yeah.
Ben told me that he wanted to do something multi with more multimedia things, and then the COVID thing happened.
Yeah.
So I haven't been going anywhere. The last demo party I was to was Function. I think it was 2019,
Mm-hmm.
maybe 2018, 2019. So since then I haven't touched size coding until now.
Okay. Hellmood, how about you? How was Lovebyte for you?
It was awesome, and the most awesome fact was that Rrrola is finally back and surprises us with a lot of productions. That was my personal highlight because, well, the productions speak for themselves. Every category he entered was a highlight for everybody. And I could dump a lot of stuff because I had a lot of stuff lying around for the year, so I could finally dump it. Like I had 20 or something submissions, so these are not lost on my hard drive. So I hope that people liked it. And I can't complain because I got like 6 trophies or something. I didn't like win a lot of stuff, but I got a lot of cert and places and whatever. So, and overall, it was an awesome experience, and it felt like a revision for size coding. This is how I would coin it. It was like really a lot of action going on, a lot of people, a lot of talks, a lot of presentations, a lot of competitions, a lot of hype, a lot of action. It was just awesome. I really love it.
Okay, so let's start with the 32-byte category. I actually have to add some stuff from Ilmenit, but let's play these first, and then we'll talk about the other ones. So the first entry that I wanted to show about the 32-byte category was Inner Groove Static Buzz. If this would work, why isn't it changing? Well, Watch Together is giving me some issues.
I can see it right now.
You can.
I can see it right now too.
Why isn't it on this one though?
Now
Okay.
it's switching to the static spectrum mode.
Okay, let's retry this again. Bzzz, all over again.
Yeah.
But it's not showing. Oh my god. Okay, sort of working. Some
It's
delay
fine on
here.
Twitch. Yeah.
There's some delay here on between my two screens, but well, we got the gist of it, I think. Well, the reason why I picked this one in particular because I really liked how tight it was between the music and the visuals. And Ilmenit was saying that it's not overwhelmingly exciting in terms of a technical achievement. Ilmenit, can you try to explain me why, since you're an Atari coder, why do you prefer other ones instead of this one?
Right, so for me it looks a bit random, shortly speaking. So a bit too much randomness for some artistic effect, in my opinion, or for something that's well just doesn't look random. I don't know how to explain this. So there are colors, there is buzzing sound, but I don't find much more in this one.
I like the aesthetics of it more than anything. I think that's why I really liked it. But Ilmenit, Hellmood, do you have any opinion on this one in particular?
Yes, I like the colors, but I can't judge how hard it is to get it on screen. There was another entry which I think we will see later on. I like the possibilities of colors they are because it's not that easy in DOS to have all these rainbows thingies aligned together. You have to do a bit of stuff. But other than that, I cannot judge it, actually. It's nice. I would share the impression that it's not overwhelming, but I think it's nice.
Mm-hmm. Rrrola, do you have... did you enjoy it particularly, or just felt weird?
I enjoy it because I like the Atari palette and it really works with this effect. and it's quite hard to do sound and visuals on my preferred platform. So I like these kind of noisy things that work much better on 8 bits and other platforms than PCs. Always nice to see what can be done and what works. So I like all of these random things.
One that Ilmenit was saying that he particularly enjoyed was this one by Docs of Joker called Skew, also 32 bytes for the ZX Spectrum. Loading.
I remember the loading screen on ZX Spectrum.
This has like some sort of pattern, which makes it interesting.
Right, so I like it a lot because it's not easy to generate with that amount of byte some full screen effect, and that has some pattern and that's changing and that is producing some interesting visuals. And especially considering the platform, the ZX, where the screen how the screen is organized, screen memory, it's I think even more challenging. I didn't look at the sources of this, and I don't that familiar with the platform, so I don't know how it's done. But at least for my platform, for Atari, it would be very hard to do.
Okay. Hellmood, Rrrola, do you have any thoughts on this one?
You want to go first?
Okay, so I'm familiar a little with the ZX Spectrum, and you can see the screen divided into thirds, which are continuous blocks of memory, and the line addressing, like the row addressing, is really weird on ZX Spectrum. So this is a really good effect in this category for ZX Spectrum. Also, you can do the border effect and sound in on one port at once. So most intros that have sound on ZX Spectrum actually need to work to don't have anything showing up in the border. So this one is a nice coincidence too.
And it's tightly synced because it's using the same thing to do both of them. So yeah, that works well. Hellmood.
Yeah.
I can just have a guess. I just can, say if the two legends here in the chat room, not me, saying it's impressive, then it has to be. What I see is like, it's not graphic, it's the char set generator, right? Like we see chars, and the chars itself, like the ROM is modified so that the chars itself have like some shapes, and these chars in effect form some gradients. And if that's what's going on, then it's already a lot of stuff going for 32. But I don't know the platform, so I cannot be sure about that. But it's not like pixels; it's chars, right? And the chars read some ROM content, and these are modified, and they form gradients. So that's already enough for me to be impressed. But I don't know the hardware actually.
Another one that was for the ZX Spectrum was this one, Visitor's Guide from the Solar System, and this one actually uses a bit of a trick. It uses the draw function from BASIC to do like a line drawing for free somehow. Rrrola, do you want to give us your thoughts about this one?
Yeah, I've looked at it and I was interested in how it's done, and the whole circle is actually just one draw function. There's a extended line drawing function on the ZX Spectrum that draws arcs, or it's at least originally meant for drawing arcs.
Mm-hmm.
But the arcs are drawn like 256 little lines, and if you set the parameters just exactly enough, you can draw all kinds of patterns. So this is a really nice ROM trick on the ZX Spectrum. So kudos for that.
I didn't like the color contrast of it. That's the only thing that I didn't really like of it. But I guess with 32 bytes, you don't have a lot of room to fiddle around in those kind of color aesthetics, especially with the Spectrum, because the colors on Spectrum are very, they are what they are. Ilmenit, do you have any thoughts on this one?
Yeah, like similarly to Rrrola, I looked at the sources of it, and I really like about this platform that there is something called, I think, calculator, where you can pass some stuff to be calculated by the ROM, and it's using it very well. I really like that. At least in the Commodore or Atari, there is nothing like this. So it's big advantage, and especially for size coding, because in other platforms, you have to code all the functions manually, which takes a lot of space. And having, for example, trigonometric functions built in is huge advantage for the platform.
Yeah, definitely.
It's like FPU in DOS.
It's cheating,
Yeah,
basically.
that's
But yeah, you use what you have on the platform.
yeah.
Helmut, do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, I can not add anything more than just said. It's cheating, but in a good way. This is what I wrote on Poet was I feel cheated, but in a good way. And also I want to point out like it's looking like a mood texture. Like I think because of the gaps between the lines, it forms a texture on it, and it looks like a multiplication something. I guess you could prove it mathematically if it's the case. I found it just an interesting detail that it, besides cheating with circles, it also has a texture on it.
Yeah, the lines are XORed actually on ZX Spectrum, so that's why you get pixels on and off when you are drawing.
Okay.
It XORs the pixels.
Next up we
So
have
can I steer it? Yeah. Go on.
next up we have Desync 32, and this one is for the Atari. So Ilmenit, you are the one who is probably best suited to tell us how the magic behind this.
Yeah, so I was looking at this, and it's quite amazing, I have to say, for multiple reasons. So if you compare it with the previous one for Atari about this static bus, so this has a form that's visually kind of like 3D effect of those platforms coming, and it's quite amazing how it's done. And I'm not sure if it was done by just coincidence or it was like genius behind it, but there is just one single color change. It's using the Atari capabilities of doing those gradients very easily. But because the palette, how it's organized is just linear in the gradient, so if you increase the value of the color, basically you can easily get this for the background color. But this additional operation that also generates the sound and the line is quite amazing, because it's just kind of glitch between like setting the color that is making this diagonal line. So I thought initially it's a kind of sprite put there, but it's just the just small break in how it's the color is set. It's for me it's amazing.
Hellmood, did you like get anything out of it, not being an Atari coder?
I think it's beautiful because I can just imagine, like, I can say how would I approach it for DOS, and I think there are more colors here in RGB than I would be possibly able to display on DOS. And the other thing is, I have actually something in 32 bytes, which is recasting in 32, which looks almost the same. Like it's pillars, but I didn't send it because I already sent so many entries that I have still a few. Anyway, so I was like impressed because that looks like a better version of my intro, and I have the power of the x86 and their sound. So I was like, wait, I have this thing too, but with less colors and without sound, so that has to be impressive. Just judging by the fact that I have something similar for a better platform, so I was very impressed by that.
Okay, Rrrola, what about you?
I don't really know much about the Atari, but I like the palette, and I really like the 3D effect. You can see that there's actually some kind of perspective on different lines. The rectangles on the left side are tilted a little bit more than the rectangles on the right side. So it might be even improved by shifting the camera a little to the right and seeing the perspective effect on the screen.
Yeah, it's the trick here is that it's not about camera, but basically how the antic processor works. So as I said, it's only about single color change, and there's something called like that antic is stealing the CPU cycles. So you can make more changes to the screen on one side than to the other side. And basically, when you just set the color after a few cycles, then the difference is then you have different size on different points of the screen. How many kind of CPU cycles you have. So it's quite genius, like to achieve this effect this way.
I agree.
Okay, let's move on to some DOS stuff. Hellmood, you wanted to do some, I guess, proof of concept that you could do the platforms on 3D, like the 3D. It's not ray tracing, but it's fake. Can you tell us a little bit about this?
Yeah, I think I have published that before as a floorcast or something. What you see here is a special trick because that might be just understandable for DOS or x86 coders. You can have it so that you have per frame a carry flag set twice, and this is how you advance the frame counter, and the frame counter is also advanced by 2. And so it appears that the blue dots are not moving, but in fact they are moving. But just they move in a distance which arrive at the same time, so they seem to be still, but they are in fact not. But other than that, it's just platforms with a clever coding, because the next trick is the VGA palette has it so if you just end with a special value, it looks like there's a gray box hovering over the background, but it's just an illusion. So there's the first illusion is the lighting. It's in the palette, hard-coded. And the second is there's actually movement in the blue dots, but you don't see it. So this is what I can say about it. Yeah.
Okay, Rrrola, do you have any opinions about this? Did you try to do any stuff like this yourself?
Yeah, I was trying to make a forecast in 32 bytes before, but I wasn't satisfied with any of my tries. So this is pretty impressive. I like how it actually is drawn in blocks. You can see the blockiness when you look at the perspective, and I really like the tricks in the code. I'm not so sure about the colors, but you cannot do much more in 32 bytes. But it's a nice effect to keep the blue dots unmoving. So this was one of my favorites.
Ilmenit, do you have any thoughts on this one?
Oh, not much. It's not the platform where I'm strong, so I really like the effect. I don't know how hard it is to make such kind of effect, but I believe it's quite hard.
Okay, let's move on to the next one then.
It's a bit of golfing, actually.
Also by Hellmood Reef, this sort of simulated underwater reef. It was a nice effect, but I don't think it's really that new. Can you tell us a little bit more about it, Hellmood?
Yeah, it's actually a bit of recycling, because I had rain, which had almost a pretty same effect, but with sound. But I wanted to do something else than gray. So because gray is accessible in VGA palette quite easily, it's 16 colors available for you. But if you want to have bluish gradients, then it's not so easy to achieve. So I sacrificed the sound and found a way to index in a few interesting values, for blue. And yeah, I think I should have submitted something which is even slower, like simulating a slower computer, because the movement is too fast. But yeah, actually, I'm guilty of recycling. I'm sorry if I offended somebody, but I thought it was good enough to be sent to a lovebyte.
You got 4th place on this one. The third place was Neon Fire by Agenda. Let's take a look at that one. And Ilmenit, this was yours. So what can you tell us about this one?
So it was kind of a coincidence that the effect looks like this, because as I think everybody, I started with trying to draw a Sierpiński, and I misplaced one instruction. And suddenly it started to get more and more interesting. So I was playing more and more with what I can achieve with this. Because I tried to make some moving Sierpiński, but then I found out that tuning some the kind of synchronization of the vertical position with the timer, I can create this kind of effect of kind of appearing pixels on the screen and doing some like interesting changes with the colors. So basically started as total coincidence, and then it was working. And for the sound, it's coming from my previous attempts to do some very simple pattern music generation using settings of some internal chip values, basically. So it's not like a real pattern there. It's basically kind of setting some values in the chips.
It's got very interesting pattern out of it, and it also like the tight sync with the music really brings it home. Got third place. Blackbond, thank you so much for your subscription. Welcome to the stream. Hope you enjoy yourself. Rrrola, do you want to say something about this? Did you like it?
I really liked it. It's a nice kind of glitching thing that you can get with playing with code and without any goal. And I also like the music pattern. I want to an easily accessible adlib chip in DOS, but just to set it up wouldn't fit in 32 bytes. So I am sad because of that. I'm envious because of that. That's a better word.
Mm-hmm. Hellmood, any thoughts?
Yeah, the same here. The sound setup is what makes this, because we don't have such opportunities. We just have a beeper, and what I hear is a bit like a drum and bass rhythm, like with a double tap, and I really like it. I mean, it's not so much of a fire, but it's a good effect, and the sound sells it. Like if you hear it longer, then at least for me, the rhythm starts to catch you. I just have to wait to put it up a bit louder. And it works for me, because I also like minimal techno, and like Rrrola said, I'm envious that stuff like this is possible in 32 bytes, because we don't have such easy access to it. So yeah, I'm overall very satisfied by this. Yes.
Moving on, we have Conway Zivot. Is that the right way to say it, Rrrola?
It's Conway Zivot.
Holy shit, I'm not going to pronounce that. This was very impressive to have the game of life in 32 bytes. Hellmood was saying earlier how he tried to do a version in 32 bytes, didn't quite manage to make it work. Rrrola, what can you tell us about this implementation? How was this possible to fit into 32 bytes?
And the crucial thing is to make it scroll, because then you need only one buffer, because the Conway life algorithm needs the whole 3x3 neighborhood of each pixel, and if you go row by row, the top left pixel won't be used anymore. So you can use it to store the final value. And there was also a nice coincidence, because you need to get the segment value for the screen, and the easiest way to do it is to override also a general purpose register along with it, because there's a nice value that's closed, and you can load it with a special instruction. And this took care of the problem that I need to reset the neighborhood counter for every new computed pixel. So I actually set the screen segment for every pixel, which doesn't hurt anything.
Really nice.
And there's also the fact that Conway's life starts to be stale after a while if you don't put new things inside, or don't have a special pattern that's prepared before. So I insert some randomness in the lower part of the screen with using the stack, at the same place as the screen. So when an interrupt is called, then the screen gets randomized on a non-visible part. So that's all the tricks I can think about.
Nice. Hellmood, what did you think about it?
I was pretty amazed because I did a 32-byte version, and I actually thought a lot with tricks, and I was quite sure that having a graphical display is pretty much impossible because you would have to spend at least 4 more bytes. Then later on, I realized, yeah, okay, if it scrolls, the trick is then you can save a bit of space. But still, even if somebody had told me before, yeah, you can scroll the Game of Life and have pixel access. And even if somebody had told me, and then you use a stack as a display, then I would have still, I think, have a hard time to have the solution for it. Even if somebody had like these 2 hints for me, like scroll it by 1 pixel left top, and then use a screen as stack. I have done these things before, but still getting this right is a real achievement. So I was amazed. Yeah, I just what I can say. I was amazed. So now my own 32-byte version feels a bit like mediocre. Yeah, but that's how it goes,
Ilmenit, what were your thoughts on this one?
Oh, well, it's great. And if you don't know how it's done, I thought that this scrolling is something extra done for the visual effect and not to save bytes, but it's in fact both, what I hear. So it's totally amazing because, the Game of Life is something that I think every programmer tried to do it once in life. And I think this scrolling gives totally new dimension to it because usually it's just a static screen and some pixel changing, but right now it's like kind of infinite version of it that you really see like plane moving the camera over a plane, and it's not this old boring Game of Life anymore. I really like it.
Okay, this one got second place on the combined 32 bytes, and the winner was Blake32, which was for DOS. And this just blew me away. Like, well, clearly it's recursion, but how the hell does it fit into 32 bytes? I have no clue. And a very cool use of the palette as well to give like that little sparkling feeling to it. Rrrola, do you have any thoughts on this one?
Yeah, the code is just awesome and quite easy to understand, at least considering the level you can level you can see in 32-byte intros. There's no overlapping instructions and just a clever use of the 3D planes recursion.
Mm-hmm.
It just looks like it clicked for Super Rogue. So it's a really nicely designed effect.
Hellmood, do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, I didn't know when I was seeing that, but when I looked at the code, it was very apparent that it looks like Parallaxa from Rrrola or the Projektbeschreibung from me, because it's the same effect. Like you have some kind of fake raycasting checking for a simple shape, and back then Rrrola used a triangle, and I used his thought to use a rectangle. But what Super Rogue did was like using a tilted, like a flipped, rotated rectangle is this 45 degrees. But like I said before with the Game of Life, if he had told me like I use this shape and now do something with it, then actually if you try this, it ends in a deadlock. So if you just approach it that way, it won't work. So you have to do something extra. You have to tap into a timer, because he actually does infinite recursions, while Parallaxa and Projektbeschreibung do finite recursions. So he saves a bit of bytes there because he goes just infinite. He doesn't think about it. But if going infinite would lock the algorithm unless you tap into something else like a timer. And so what he did was like lifting the idea again up. Like it has a new level. It's not a copy. It's just it is a new level of perception. It looks like something you would do in 64. It looks like a dragon fractal is hiding behind something. It looks like something else. So I bow to the winner of the 32-byte competition. It really looks amazing. It's a bit, it fluctuates. It's a bit it's not fluent, but it's the fact that it goes infinite and then it's just rescued by the timer, so it has these slightly stutter effects.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe there's text available for that, but I haven't looked that detailed into the code. I could bring one of the versions down to 28, like one of the other versions, but this one is quite hard to hack, like to make it smooth
Any
scrolling,
smaller,
because
yeah.
you have to. Yeah, it's hard. So yeah, respect to Super for getting the first prize for this. It was really a good, really an outstanding production.
Ilmenit, can you do this on the Atari?
Well, definitely not with the processing power and not with the instruction set. No, but it's mind blowing. It's so beautiful, and that for me it's the most beautiful piece of code at this size, and it looks like diamonds, crystals all together. It's crazy beautiful.
Let's move on to the 64 bytes competition, and starting by something that is done for the Atari, Unfolding. This was done by you, right, Ilmenit?
Yep.
And it has sound as well, in 64 bytes. So, Ilmenit, what can you tell us about it?
Yeah, so that was a lot of challenge for me, because I never did anything below 256, and in fact I didn't do much programming for demoscene in the past. So this is quite interesting for a few reasons. So first of all, Atari has no built-in trigonometric functions that are easily accessible for size coding. So I used the code-generated sine function here for those shapes. But to assure the multiple patterns, I modify the sine function real time. It's synchronized with the timer, and also there's a lot of reuse of the things. So also the same function is setting the color, setting the character set. So it's kind of all fit together, and the sound is kind of the data displayed on the screen. So modified by timer. But also I had to reverse engineer a big portion of the OS to find some interesting code snippet for that allows to make this effect full screen, because Atari is 8-bit computer, and to address even the text mode you need 16-bit pointer. And so there is no really operation even to perform a 16-bit increment or decrement of pointer. And I found a very useful code snippet that is quite long. It's not doing only this, but can be called, and there is a return instruction at the end that allows to do this increase, and basically it's allowing this full screen effect. So a lot of work was put there.
Interesting. Rrrola, do you have any thoughts on this that you would like to share?
It looks like a lot of fun to study ROM code and finding how you can use that to save space in your intro and do things that are not possible. I really like the red orange part of the intro. It seems to crawl at me, and also like the sound.
Hellmood?
Yeah, the sound is something I couldn't possibly get a grip of. I would just say this level of mastery is beyond my competence. I cannot judge it. It's like a multi-effect thing with sound and with restricted possibilities. And just hearing the explanation of Ilmenit makes me go like, yeah, okay, I'm out. it's too dope for me.
Let's move on to the next entry, Through the Matrix. I believe this is yours, Hellmood.
Yes, it is.
Third place on 64 bytes. This was pretty good. I sort of missed the 64-byte show because I was dealing with family, and this was one of the few that I did caught, and I was like, oh, this looks pretty good. So I didn't see the whole compo, but this one stood out to me as impressive for 64 bytes. Can you tell us a little bit about it, Hellmood?
Yeah, again, I'm guilty of reusing code, because this one is a modified shape for the 32-byte effects, like Parallaxa, Projektbeschreibung, and Blake 32 all use the same approach. It's the same layered effect, but I thought, what about going to 64 and add something? So, for example, here is the center point of projection is in the middle, so it looks like a real centric projection. And I added palette from black to green, and I added a MIDI sound. So technically, it's not that hard, you have a 32-byte effect to start with, add colors, add sound, and tweak a bit the parameters, and then you have that. So I'm sorry again for the blatant recycling, but well, it looks good, right? I felt it looked good, so I submitted it.
Okay, let's move on to the next entry, Rise of Ramses, which is also by you. This one got second place.
Yeah, I sent a lot of stuff actually.
So which one was your favorite, Enter the Matrix or this one? Personally for you, Hellmood.
For me, I think it's this one because it's the first transparent thingy, because you can raycast a lot. And at one point I was thinking, why stop at the object border? Why not like just go through it and count? So we have a transparency effect. And I think, well, I might be mistaken, but I think it's the first transparency effect in 64 for 3D volumetric raycasting. So yeah, sorry again for the basic shapes, but yeah, 64 is tough. So this is the one I could come up with, which makes sense to look transparent. And actually, you have to either use a real modern notebook, or you have to crank up the cycles for the DOS box to 1.5 million, which is a lot. So because it's you need a modern computer. So I don't think this is possible on old school computers. So I think it turned out quite decently, I guess. So yeah.
Rrrola,
What
what
can I
are
say?
your
I did it,
thoughts?
so I'm a bit biased, you know.
Yeah, Rrrola, what are your thoughts on these two entries by Hellmood?
Yeah, I like the first one better because I think it's getting more things done with the code at once, like the sound and palette, and even though it's a like 32-byte effect, it creates a mood, and it's this one is really technically impressive, the Rise of Ramses, but it's said that there were so many Serpinskis elsewhere on the lovebyte competition, so it carried something like a stigma with it. So I was sad about that because it's really technically impressive. Actually, the winning 32-byte intro was also using transparency in the ray marching thing. So that one is a tie between those two. Like for the first use of transparency with 3D. Also, I like the fact that you don't compute all the pixels at once, like by row, and create this kind of noisy effect that's actually there for making it appear faster. So I
Yes.
like that you found space for the multiplication in there.
Spot on, yes.
Yeah.
Ilmenit, do you have any thoughts on these two intros?
Yeah, so just like Rrrola said, I also like the matrix effect more because it's creating really a strong atmosphere. The second effect is definitely more technically impressive, but I often look more at the style, at the atmosphere, at the mood, and the like feeling it makes, and that's it.
Okay, let's take a look at the winner, which is by Rrrola, I believe. It's called Terren, and it's a terrain. Rrrola, what can you tell us about it?
Well, the main thing about this intro is that it's also really hard to do to make it look well and make it fast at the same time. It's using the standard DOS palette, which has only 16 shades of gray. So I had a happy coincidence that when drawing the 2D planes like all the other intros before me, I could use the fractional x coordinate to do some kind of appearance of voxels and shading. So it adds quite a lot to the intro especially when it's in motion. Also, there's a nice texture generator that actually creates the whole terrain, because all the other terrains I tried before didn't look like terrain. It looked like some columns. So the 2D Brownian motion was originally by Baze, who uses it for his textures in his classic intros like lattice. So I heavily modified it to make it fit, and it makes those kinds of terrain things. Also, the long hill that's in the middle of the screen is necessary because otherwise it starts to go too low and overflow. So I actually use the last drawn pixel color to seed the texture to make it stable over a long time.
Okay.
Just putting it there. That's all.
Hellmood, do you have any thoughts on this one before we move on to the next category?
A few. I mean, I can be brutally honest. I thought the 64-byte competition was the only one where I thought this is my strongest submissions, because I sent a lot of stuff, like a lot of old stuff, and I was quite sure that one of my entries would win, and I was proven wrong. So that says
I was sure too.
Yeah, but this one won, and we had a lot of Apex like this before, like similar, but with a few details. What is just said, the Brownian motion is unmatched. We didn't have this before, and also like having the shading of colors, we didn't have that before. There are a few from Square Root and from Poi and from myself. Like there have been a few scrolling planes, but not with pseudo-random waveforms, and not with this kind of transparency, and not with the kind of depth effect due to the shading, and not with emotion. So all in all, we didn't have this before. I just can say that. So it's like it's a leap forward in 64 for having like 3D terrain effects.
Mm-hmm.
So it's fair if this has one. It's just fair, It's a very good effect.
So nice 64-byte combo overall. Let's move on to the next category, which is the 256 bytes for the fantasy consoles. The first one was one of the favorites that I had, which was Nusan's Dancing Dancing Trees from Triangle. So I really liked this one, and I was surprised how low it ranked on the final results. I got trying to find it.
13th position.
Yeah, 13th, which was weird in my humble opinion. I really like this effect. I know some of you guys have played around with the TIC80. I guess Hellmood, you're the one with the more experience for this category. So what can you tell us about this effect? Did you enjoy it?
I can tell you that I'm well, kind of, but I can tell you I'm one of the guys who you don't understand, because I was like, yeah, no, it's. I'm one of these guys. Like I was
it's too glitchy for you. It's too glitchy for your aesthetic taste.
It's too glitchy. Like it has a movement and it has even
it has sound. Fading, but it's so hard to have sound on the TIC80.
Let me just have the sound. Yeah, for my entries, I tried sound, and then I found the sound shitty and I scratched it. So my entries were silent. So what can I say? Needs to be like, I think it has to be a bit better in sound to like totally catch me. Like it's a threshold thing. Like as it is, it's like, well, not too convincing. And if it's a bit better, then I just think, yeah, that's first place. It's one of these things. So do it a bit better, and I'm totally convinced. But as it is now, it fails to break the threshold. So it's like, yeah, okay, it's okay. I'm honest. I'm sorry. I had a beer now, a huge beer, and so I'm totally honest.
Everyone has their opinions. Art is subjective, so everyone is entitled to their opinion. Another entry that I wanted to show was number 7, Bloodstream, which was actually for JavaScript. There were only 2 JavaScript entries on the whole competition. It was totally dominated by the TIC80. No Pico 8 inside, no D Twitter. 2 JavaScript entries. This was Bloodstream. It was pretty nice. I had some difficulties comparing it with the TIC80 stuff, and I think that was why overall it didn't place as high as it probably should have placed, in my humble opinion. What did you guys think about this? Ilmenit, can I ask you what did you think about it?
Yeah, for me, it was one of the winners. I was surprised why it scored that low. It's beautiful. It has atmosphere. It has beautiful colors. Everything is great about this. I saw that I think I saw it on Twitter, if you know the tool, about like tweeting JavaScript demo tool, and that it was based on some previous effect, kind of similar tunnel, but like the previous effect was like very not okay. I don't want to say poor, but like
More
this one
basic.
is much greater in yeah more basic. So it's amazing. I think it's mind blowing from the general effect it makes.
Rrrola, what about you? What did you think about this entry and the compo overall?
Overall, I really like this component on virtual platforms because I wasn't familiar with them before. Since then, I have watched Twitter things and this AV things and stuff like that. And this entry was all about style, and I don't think it had an audience for that. I think it might have been might have much better success on the general Twitter audience and things like that. I really liked it. It's also really compact, and the sine and cosine things and built-in circle functions work really well for that.
Moving on, we have
I like this a lot.
Blip Happy by Exoticorn, I think, which was back into the TIC 80. If my screen would load. There we go, TIC 80.
We see it here, it's fine.
I like the use of the circles here to do like sort of characters, and I think a couple other folks use similar style to this, but this one looks particularly stylish, like good use of the palette and very smooth. So I really enjoyed this one. Hellmood, what did you think about it?
Yeah, same as you. I really like this circle thingy shape, like the big pixels, but with a shape. It has a huge effect. And if I turn the sound on, I'm really, we have discussions on a Discord on how sound is working in TIC 80, and so far it's not looking good for the TIC 80 because you cannot create waves or something. You don't have the power or the technical abilities. So every time I hear sound, I just lift it up and close it again, and no, that's not it. Like I said, I think it's very hard to do good sound, and this one is like no exception. It's just like it does sound. It's not It's not comparable to any.
You can do more sound
I'm
on
sorry.
the TIC
It
80,
looks really nice.
but you need to do a couple of cycles to like define the waves and stuff like that. So it wastes a bit more bytes if you want to do proper sound, not just throw some noises around.
So just the graphical effect it's brilliant, but if I turn up the sound, I'm like, no, you don't need the sound for that. It would be just fine as it is.
Next effect we have is True Color Plasma, which is actually by you. If this would work.
Oh yeah.
Now it loaded. So what can you tell us about True Color Plasma? This is not possible for the TIC 80.
No, it's not. It's I don't know how I did this. How did I do this? No, it's actually quite simple because you can change the palette each scan line, so you have almost infinite resolution in that way, and you have then 16 colors at the same time in each line. So this is just a normal plasma with a bit of dithering, actually. And I didn't even, because I come from the DOS, I didn't even think about that there's just a good random function in TIC 80, so I wasted a bit with a pseudo random number generator, which I actually learned from Rrrola. Well, one of your codes was the times something plus one and then modulo something, and this is from your code. So this is went into this one. I think from DeroJet. The DeroJet random number generator is in the True Color Plasma. So anyway, yeah. So the TIC 80 is capable of a lot of colors, of millions actually, just not independently on the pixel, but with a few tricks, you can achieve a lot of colors at the same time. So yeah, I just gave it a shot, and it was okay, I think.
Let's move on to another entry, Snowgazer. This one looked a lot more cinematic because it actually like composed the scene, not just an effect. And I that's what I particularly liked about that. The sound is not as good as it could be, in my humble opinion. But again, TIC 80 sound limitations is one of the issues. But I do like the fact that, you know, the cat moves, like has a small animation to it. It really gives it a nice feeling. Ilmenit, do you have any thoughts on these intros that we've been showing?
Yeah, I like it. I like the style. As you said, the sound is not great, and still I expect that there is going to be some breakthrough with some sound generation on the platform. I think sooner or later somebody will come up with some technique, and I really like a scene. It's more like the old gen intros where you don't have much processing power capabilities, and it's more about the style you make. And it's a good example of this kind of intro. I really like it.
Rrrola, what about you?
I really liked how it works with restraint. The TIC 80 palette that was used for most of the entries. Most people just said, yeah, we got 4 really nice gradients back to back, so let's use them all. But this one was just, no, I only need a blue one, and I can do a cat in that. So I this was my favorite from the whole compo because it was different from all the others.
Yeah, it really stood out in that regard. Let's take a look at another one called Bamboozled. I believe it's by Super Rogue, if I'm not mistaken, or probably Super Rogue and Blossom. And this one was really tight as well. Like, had a nice fit between the music and the visuals. Very solid intro. Hellmood, do you have any thoughts on this one?
Yes, first of all, let me come back to the entry with the cat, because this one was actually one where the sound was actually fitting, because given the capabilities of the TIC 80, the sound was actually quite cool. And so with the Bamboozled, I'm a bit biased because Super Rogue asked me if he can use some sound routine of mine and twist it a bit, and so he did. It's actually the sound routine from the invitation, but a bit modified. And so I was like, yeah, okay, if you can, yeah. But it sounds different enough for me. So this is one example where I think, yes, it's you can turn up the volume and it's fine. But the overall impression is like you have text on it, because Super Rogue loves text and messages and the circles and having the shapes. So this is it lifts it up, like it's it's a boost to the front. So it's one of the favorites of a party for me.
Then we had Old Schools Moving Along, which had a lot of stuff happening. I didn't particularly like it. I liked the depth on the text and the reflection on the bottom, but overall I thought it was a bit all over the place, so it wasn't really my cup of tea, and I thought it's strange that it got like second place. But what were your thoughts? Rrrola, do you have any thoughts on this one?
Well, I was surprised how well it works on the TIC to display the code that you actually use. You just put it in there twice, once like code and once like a string, and the compression takes care of that. That's a pretty nice trick. Overall, the only thing I really liked about this design were the 3D letters. The other efforts are a little all over the place. It was like let's get all the effects we can do at once. This kind of thing.
Yeah.
But the quiet and the 3D text is awesome by me.
Then we had Marbles and Marmor, and this one won the compo, which is also by Hellmood. So Hellmood, what can you tell us about this one, and if you have any thoughts on the previous entry as well?
Yeah, the previous was just too much for me. It was an overload of effects. I mean, it's technically impressive, so that is where the thing stands out and it's a bit nerdy. But I also wouldn't have ranked it that high. But as for this, I also wouldn't have ranked this one as high because, like I said in the slide, it was a lunch break quickie because I figured I had to do one more tick entry to support the party. And then I did this, and I learned from my plasma, which I did before, that you can change the palette each scan line. And I was just having black-white and going into the depths, so it looks pretty nice. And then I was inspired by all the marvels that Flopine did in her shader sessions, because she experimented live on Twitch when Flopine was training for the showdown. For Tech 80, she was using these marbles, and I remembered something I did back when I was, I don't know, 13 years old or something, like doing some circles to have the spheres. And I just, wrote 2 hours and sent it in, and, it won. So there are a lot of entries, like the cat from Blossom is better than this, and the bloodstream from Killed by Pixel is also better than this, and even the one from Marquis, from Sparrow himself, is better than this, in my opinion. Because I just, executed a bunch of tricks technically without even thinking about it and just submitted it. So, I think if I'm totally honest, I would have, go on.
I think the main selling point of this one was that it was cohesive in terms of the color scheme. Like the balls didn't stand out too much from the marble, and also it doesn't use the default palette, and that made it stood out from everything else. So I think that was why it got placed so high. Like it looks very clean and traditional effects in some sort. So it got a lot of points that way, in my opinion. Ilmenit, do you have any thoughts before we wrap up this category?
Well, I'm happy that Hellmood said that it was quick and that he thinks that it